Welcome back. Today we're looking at excerpts from a very passionate monologue.
Passionate is one way to put it. It's leveling some huge accusations of corruption against key figures in the Israeli legal establishment.
Right. The Attorney General Gali Baharav Miyara judges the whole system. So let's dive right in and see how we can make these claims hit with maximum impact. Okay, so first things first. While the material has these just staggering factual details concerning the alleged misconduct of the Attorney General,
Miyara, yeah.
the immediate impact gets a bit lost. It feels like the allegations are scattered across, a bunch of unrelated political fights.
That really is the main structural hurdle. You've got the central, most powerful claims, the alleged cover-up concerning the AG, the story with her son's e-pod.
And the whole quid pro quo dynamic with the investigator, Rinat Saban.
Exact. But that stuff is all mixed in with critiques of the Zini affair, the Netanyahu trial, even the conscription law debate.
And that fragmentation, it stops a clear indictment from forming in the listener's mind.
It really does. It feels less like a focused legal argument and more like a general political broadside.
So the argument becomes one of many instead of the one.
Precisely. So the suggestion here, and it's a big structural one, is to isolate the corruption allegations against the AG and her team.
Just focus on Miyara and the Chief Military Prosecutor.
Put them into a single, devastating narrative block right at the start. Treat it like a prosecutor's opening statement.
Okay, but then don't you risk losing the context? I mean, it feels like the monologue's whole point is to show how interconnected all this is.
That's a great question, but you have to convince the listener of the core crime first. You establish the bullseye.
I see.
Once the listener accepts the specific claims about Miyara and Saban, then you can use the other issues, like Judge Amit's alleged illegal construction, as secondary.
So they become illustrations of a broader bias that follows from the corruption you've already established.
Exactly. It's about sequencing. So, what's Exhibit A in this new streamlined open?
What's the first thing you hit them with?
You merge the two most potent related points. First, you start with the claim that the AG submitted an allegedly false affidavit to the court.
The one stating no further investigation was needed.
Right. And you immediately pair that with the inaction, fact that they simultaneously failed to question Rinat Saban.
The key investigator who the AG had publicly supported in a completely separate lawsuit.
Yes. You present that sequence, the action and the inaction, side by side. That is the foundation for the hand washes hand dynamic.
That contrast is so much more powerful when it's not interrupted by three other topics.
Right. And then, for example, you strictly reserve the critiques of other judges like Isaac Amit for a dedicated section after you've laid out that primary charge.
So you ensure the listener gets that high-impact indictment before you broaden the scope.
You have to. It's a powerful structural pivot.
Okay, so if structure is the engine, let's talk about the fuel, which is the tone and style. The tone, while it's undeniably passionate and driving, is often so personal and emotionally charged that it risks undermining the credibility of the legal claims.
It's a classic tightrope walk. You can tell the speaker is furious, and frankly, given the claims, you can understand why.
But the weakness is in the language itself.
Things like calling the legal team a gang of double-certified liars.
Or that bit about the judge telling the MK to take the blue or yellow pill.
Right. That language functions more like a political attack than a rigorous legal argument. It can really alienate listeners who are looking for objective forensic rigor.
And the thing is, the facts themselves are so potent. The claims about Pegasus on their Hefets, or the conflict between Filbert's testimony and the physical evidence.
They're explosive. They don't need the hyperbole.
So the suggestion is to keep that fierce commitment to the truth.
But to elevate the language, shift it to cold, objective, forensic scrutiny. We need to channel that passion into laser-focused legal analysis.
Okay, so what would that actually sound like? Let's take the example of the state witness Filbert.
Okay, so when you're discussing the failure to cross-reference his testimony about a meeting with Netanyahu against phone logs and diaries, which is a huge specific claim, don't just call the team liars.
Instead, you'd call it...
You describe it as a grave procedural failure, or as the potential malicious suppression of evidence. You use language that points to a specific breach of due process.
You're turning an emotional complaint into an accountable legal category.
Exactly. It raises the argument from a personal slight to a breach of the rule of law itself. That carries so much more weight.
That's a really interesting shift. What about another example? The personal story from the High Court from Bagalat, where the speaker describes being humiliated.
The hand push, being told to leave.
Yeah.
Instead of focusing on the personal indignity of it, you pivot immediately to the consequences. You highlight the lack of parliamentary immunity protection.
You focus on the specific legal rules that Judge Amit's conduct allegedly violated.
Right. So the personal experience becomes a data. It's objective evidence of systemic failure. The focus isn't, I was offended. It's, this specific judicial conduct demonstrates a systemic lack of respect for the rule of law.
You're translating subjective anger into objective evidence.
That's the goal. It's a much more powerful way to argue for accountability.
Okay, that makes a ton of sense. So let's look at the third major point. This is about bolstering that claim of bribery relations, specifically between the AG and Rina Taban.
The hand washes hand part, yeah.
The issue here is that to really establish this claim, the material needs to synthesize the parallel timelines of the alleged exchange much more powerfully.
Right now, the correlation is there, but it's kind of buried. You hear about Rina Taban, investigator number 2, and her lawsuit against the police.
She was trying to get a forced promotion.
Right. And the material notes that the AG submitted a document supporting her in court. And then the speaker asks, sort of as an aside, so why hasn't Taban been questioned?
The pieces are there, but they need to be linked explicitly to assert quid pro quo.
Absolutely. We need to create a clear, explicit sequence. You have to define the precise value received by each party to make that bribery relations claim really stick.
Okay, so what was the value for Tzaban, the investigator?
The value for Tzaban was enormous. It was the Attorney General's official backing in her lawsuit, the AG's office claiming the police commissioner acted from non-objective political grounds. That's a massive institutional win for her.
And the alleged value received by Attorney General Miyara in return?
Tzaban's continued silence, or, cooperation. It effectively ensures that the claimed cover-up, especially the part related to the Chief Military Prosecutor, holds firm.
You are asserting a direct exchange of institutional support for silence.
That's the claim being made, and it needs to be laid out sequentially.
So how do you make sure the listener connects those dots?
You lay it out step by step. It's critical. 1. Tzaban sues the police. 2. Miyara, the AG, files a document in court supporting her. Then, 3. You immediately contrast this legal support with the investigative reality.
That Tzaban, a key figure, has still not been called for questioning.
Exactly. That tight structure turns what could be seen as a correlation into a suggested causality. It drives the listener to the conclusion you want.
And this is where that other powerful anecdote comes in.
Yes, the AG's son and the iPod theft claim, the recorded apology, the lawyer Yossi Benkel's involvement.
You use that to establish a baseline. You show institutional leverage being used for private means.
You have to position it strategically. It's not the central charge, but it's crucial supplementary evidence. It shows the AG's alleged prior willingness to use institutional power for personal protection.
So, if the listener accepts that the AG may have acted to protect her son, it lends significant weight to the much more serious accusation involving Tzaban.
It suggests a modus operandi, a pattern of behavior.
So the listener thinks, okay, if she did it there, it's more plausible she did it here.
Exactly. It establishes precedent right before you present your main piece of evidence. The structural placement is key.
Overall, the foundational material here is so deep, so detailed. It's not the facts that are the challenge. It's the highly strategic presentation of those facts.
To sum it all up then, 3 main areas. First, streamline that corruption narrative against the AG. Cut out the secondary political conflicts at the start.
Second, elevate the tone. Move from personal attack to objective, forensic accountability to maximize credibility.
And third, clearly and sequentially lay out that quid pro quo timeline between the AG and Tzaban. Make that bribery relations claim unassailable.
The listener clearly possesses an incredible depth of knowledge on all this. We really encourage you to refine the material based on these high-level suggestions. The evidence is powerful.
And sharpening the delivery will just maximize its impact.
Absolutely. We look forward to seeing the refinement of this crucial piece, and we invite you to send it back for another look.